Hello, welcome back to another Rustage review. Again, I want to reiterate, these are just my dummy thought opinions about things, and they're not like comprehensive reviews or analytical looks at anything. I'm not a professional reviewer. I'm just going to be spewing my rambling thoughts about things that I do or do not like about certain things, and then I'll be giving a review at the end. And so it's really for you guys who want to know my opinion on an anime or game or book or any or TV show. Then you could watch this and hear me talk about it. If there's anyone out there who actually cares about what I have to think. But, fuck it. Why not? These are fun to make, fun to get my thoughts out there in the world. So we're going to just do it. We're going to do it. This one's about Hunter x Hunter, which is a critically acclaimed show, one of the highest rated on my anime list. And people always ask. They don't, but let's pretend people always ask, Mr. Daniel Rustage, what do you like about critically acclaimed Hunter x Hunter? I thought it was good. I like it. I like it a lot. And I do have a couple issues with it, but I think overall as a show, it is quite effective, has quite a lot of good moments. I'll say off the bat that the characterization in the show is very, very well done. Characters like Killua and Gon and Kurapika and even characters like Hisoka and Crollo and those thief guys and the Chimera ants. I think the show, comparatively to some other shonens, really shines of how effective it uses its characters and the ideologies of their characters to great effect. I think it's really well executed in a lot of areas. My personal favorite arc is Yorknu. I think even though Chimera Ant is most people's favorite arc and it is very good, I just had personally more fun with Yorknu. I think the Phantom Troop are very fun. They are full of really interesting characters. I like the fact that both Gon and Killua were clearly outclassed, and that sort of story of them trying to navigate their way through a situation that the one wrong move will get them killed is very effective. And Kurapika's whole story and the gambles that Kurapika takes in that arc is great. And then you have Chimera Ant arc, which has Miriam, who's incredible, and you have all of these different characters, like Knuckle and Shoot, and I can't remember the names, but Big Boy with the pipe and Cowardly Boy with the portals, and there's so much there that is so effective as well. I think my overall issue with Hunter x Hunter and what holds it back for me is it just feels so slow to me, and this is again just my whole personal ramblings of it. Is that when you take a look back at the series and everything that happens, in terms of like the overarching plots and the story moments and the character moments, then I think you think on it better than when you're actually watching it. There's a lot of times I was kind of just bored. Like it would just be Killua's or Gon or whatever. They're fighting some random dude and it's just slow, I think especially the first arc turns a lot of people off. I think Schwabity really didn't like the first arc at all when he watched it. I thought it was fine, but like the Hunter x Hunter training examination arc conceptually is fine, but it feels like everything takes just a little bit too long. Like it outstays its welcome and stuff. And in some ways, I can see why they've done that to make it effective. Like for example, when they're all running down that tunnel, that kind of goes on for an uncomfortably long amount of time because the idea is you're supposed to feel a little exhausted watching, like the characters are exhausted running. Like I can understand that, but I think there are still aspects of the show where it feels a little slow. That also could just be because I'm normally a manga reader, and Hunter x Hunter is one of the few things I watched as an anime, and I think that might play into it, where I think in general I find anime too slow for me anyway, and if I read Hunter x Hunter, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more, and we'll get onto another reason why I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more in a second. But overall, I think it was very effective, and there are lots of really good moments scattered out from the kind of slow pacing. Quite a lot of the arcs were like just training arcs, like Greed Island. I mean, the whole thing is like one big every section is just training arcs for the characters, and lots of people like that. And I think it is good. You're seeing the progression of Gon essentially go through all the training arcs as a hunter, I guess. And I think the Nen magic system is very good and versatile. I don't think I like it quite as much as everyone else does. There's a lot of people who like champion it as like their favorite magic system. I think it's cool and it has a lot of good utility and stuff, and you can be very creative with it. But it felt like a lot of exposition about it was hit. Like I was hit by a lot of exposition when I think it could have been introduced more naturally through the story. There could have been ways that we would have found out about Nen. That wasn't just a guy comes and trains and teaches Gon about Nen and then tells everyone how Nen works. That's, again, just my opinion. But we'll get on to the manga versus anime thing. I want to shout out Grand Line Reviews or New World Reviews. He just did a small video about the kite situation in Hunter x Hunter. And I didn't know this, but small spoilers for the Chimera Ant arc. Again, if you skip to the end of the video if you don't want this spoiler. But and you're trying to get like a spoiler-free review from me for my rating. I think I also might just put my ratings in the description so you can check the description. But in the Chimera Ant arc, Gon meets up with Kite and they hang out for a little bit and then Kite dies. And that kind of... Well, he doesn't die. They think he's savable. Right? He's been beaten and they're trying to rescue him. And the kind of crux of the motivation of Gon throughout that arc is to save Kite. And it's a fine thing, but when I was watching it, I was like, but we just met this guy. Why does he care this much? In the manga, the first chapter is the flashback with Gon and Kite, right? Where Gon and Kite, Kite showcases what being a hunter is like, and you have all of that great stuff. And I think in the 90s anime, they have the same thing. And it works the same way that Shanks does in One Piece, where even though Shanks isn't in One Piece that much, because he's in the first chapter, and you set up Luffy's backstory, and he's the pirate that Luffy models pirates on, like how in Hunter x Hunter, Gon, Kite would be the hunter that Gon models hunters on besides his own dad, of course. Because of that, Shanks, people like Shanks. They care about Shanks. When he appears, if anything were to happen to Shanks in One Piece, people would have a big emotional response to it because he was there at the very beginning. And that was the same with Kite. In the manga, he's there at the beginning. So when later on, when he eventually has this whole situation and perishes or whatever, Gon's motivation seems more believable and the audience care more about what happens to Kite. But instead what they did was, you don't know about Kite and then all of a sudden you meet him and then there's a little flashback of what that first chapter was. And it feels clumsily edited in. And I think the reason why they did this is because when they reanimated it for the 2010 version, they wanted to kind of speed up the introduction because people would have already been used to seeing that. Maybe? Like they wanted to go straight into Gon's adventure. But I think that one subtle change kind of almost ruins a lot of that arc. And it's part of the reason why that arc isn't my favorite as much as other people's. Because then go on to the point of Gon snapping, which is quite a big moment, right? When he finds out that Kite is dead. It's crazy. It's amazing. Everyone loves it. And I think it's effective. And I think it would have been more effective with that Kite change. Because we as an audience watching the anime we just don't have that connection that Gon has to Kite, or we just don't really understand why Gon cares as much as he does. And it's really just a positioning thing. It's such a simple fix. But that moves on to my next point, and one of the things that I find very effective about Hunter x Hunter is, from my point of view, it seems to be the tale of the reality of shonen protagonists and children as shonen protagonists. Because in a lot of shonen shows, you will have a child, someone who's under the age of 16, who goes through all these horrific experiences that a child should never go through, seeing death, fighting tooth and nail to survive, doing all these crazy things as a child, and they're just kind of like, yeah, that's what happens. They're sad or whatever, like, but they're just fighting, right? And it doesn't affect them as much as if it happened in real life, because it's fiction, and people come to expect that from when they watch a shonen. When you watch Naruto and you see Naruto go through all of this, like the death tutoring exams, and you see him, all of this shit that happens to Naruto in his life, he obviously cries at certain aspects, but it doesn't emotionally rip him apart and traumatize him because he's just the shonen protagonist, right? Naruto might not be the best example, but it happens all the time. You have that. And obviously Hunter x Hunter was written before Naruto, so it's not like they're satirizing Naruto in that specifically, but it's just shonen as a genre in general. You have Gon, right? And he's a child, and he goes through all these experiences that a lot of other shonen protagonists also go through. And when you're watching the show, you're just you go see him go through the stuff, and you're like, you react like you would regularly. And then when he snaps at the end, and then he has that one scene after the Chimera Ant arc where that, like, I can't remember exactly how it goes down, but the person's like, a child should never go through all this. That's when you realize that, yeah, he's like 12. He should have not been fighting in these war against these insectoid creatures. He should have not been in the middle of that city being hunted by assassin thieves. He should have not been doing all of this. The dude's a 12-year-old kid, and you realize the trauma and the reality of the situation that he's in, and it hits you all at once because it kind of blindsides you. Because he's paired up with Killua. Specifically, because Killua is someone who's already gone through so many he's desensitized. Killua is desensitized because he's gone through all of these traumatic experiences because he's the son of this assassin's thing. He has electroshock therapy. He just gets electroshocks training, and you have, like, people, like, there's this one guy in the Greed Island arc who comments on the fact that it's really sad that this kid has this ability because of what that implies that he's been through, right? But Killua is just like, that is my life, because that's what he's used to, because he's desensitized to that. Gon's not yet desensitized to that, and but he sees Killua be all cool and go along with it, and they're just two boys having fun. And again, the Killua and Gon relationship is very well written as two children, slightly odd children, on this adventure together. I think it's very well done. But at the end, when you have Gon just utterly traumatized by the experiences that he's gone through, I think it's a really effective message about the normalization of these traumatic events for children protagonists in shonen anime. And I think Hunter x Hunter delivers on that message pretty effectively. And in a way that doesn't undermine, like, you still enjoy the other arcs when they're happening, but it puts everything in perspective at the end and kind of wraps it all up as Gon went on this. How, like, sometimes the story is like, when the stereotype is when someone's looking for a treasure, right? And then at the end, it's like the treasure is the friendships we made along the way. In this, he's searching for his dad, but then it's not like the adventures we had along the way was the reward. It's like the opposite. It's the adventures we had along the way were terrible. I don't know how to phrase it correctly. I'm not super smart, as you can tell from my crazy ramblings. I'm not smart enough to actually cohesively complete this thought. And someone way more intelligent than I has either already thought about this and come up with a way of doing it, explaining it succinctly, or can succinctly explain it in a way that I cannot, because I'm not very adequate with my word usage, as you could tell from the way that I talk to you. Anyway, I just think that's a really effective through line with Hunter x Hunter. And I think all the characters are great. And I love how they all have their own separate character things. I like characters like Iago. I think out of all the characters in Hunter x Hunter, there is only one character that I dislike. And that is Palm. because she's a pedophile. And I don't understand. What I don't understand about people who watch Hunter x Hunter and they go on these things about, Hisoka's controversial because Hisoka's a pedophile, right? Hisoka's not a pedophile. He just has this weird sexual attraction to well, not a sexual attraction, but sexual attraction to like power conceptually, like fighting strong opponents, right? We just coincidentally see that he has that first moment with Gon and his potential for growth. But it's nothing to do with Gon being a child. It's everything to do with his power and potential growth, right? Gon could have been any age and he still would have had the same reaction. The thing about Palm, however, is Palm goes out of her way to like want to go on a date and hit on Gon and do all these weird like kiss Gon. Gon's a child. Palm's like in her late 20s. That shit's weird. And I just feel like not only is it weird, but it's not really commented on as weird in a way that like these kids... Okay, I actually want to make 2 points about this. Because one, it is weird and I don't like Palm for it. But two, it still plays into the effectiveness of like Gon's kind of traumatic adventure, right? That's an example of another thing a child should never go through, is being weirdly groomed by someone who is older than you, especially, a 12-year-old being groomed by like someone in like their late 20s, right? That's weird and can damage a child like that. And I think even though maybe it's not explicitly stated, I was about to like get angry at the author for including such an interaction, but if it's can be explained away by saying it's included in that way as another example of like a weird trope where there's like older women or older dudes like hitting on young people in anime that's normally like shown in protagonists and stuff that's normally like turned a blind eye to, but in this show it's one of the things that like adds on top of Gon's inevitable breakdown and trauma. I mean, obviously that big break is about Kite's death, but in terms of like the aftermath of his emotional state, then I can kind of forgive that. But that might be me reaching to try and justify it, because it doesn't seem like any of the characters in universe care about Palm hitting on a child, right? Killua cares, but that's not because Gon's a child, it's because Killua is protective of Gon. Anyway, I don't like Palm. Pretty much all the other characters, I think all the ants are really interesting. The way that the ants start out very conformative, and then the moment they grow more human-like, they become more independent and form their own cliques, I think is very effective. And there's a lot of like commentary there. I think each of the arcs has their own effective commentary, which I think is good. I'm not smart enough to go into exactly what those are, but I think they're all well done. I think it's all well done, and I think Hunter x Hunter deserves the praise that it gets. But at the end of the day, with that all said, on an episode-to-episode basis when I was watching it, I can't say I was entertained as frequently as a lot of the other anime or manga that I have consumed. I think I respect the characters, and I respect the themes, and I respect quite a lot of the show, but I can't say that I was watching it being like, sometimes yes, but sometimes I was just like, I'm bored. I think the York New arc was the only arc for me where that was never the case, which is why it's my favorite. And that was even in the slower sections of that. I think that was specifically they were talking about things that I was interested in. But so that's why I think my overall review score for Hunter x Hunter is an 8+ out of 10, which is still a very high score for me because I admit how good and well put together it is. But it's either an 8 or an 8+. Oh gosh, I actually don't know. I'm going to say an 8+ because, yeah, I think it's effective and everything. And if it managed to do everything that I talked about here, like all the things that it did effectively, if it managed to do all those things effectively and had better pacing and fix that like kite thing, it would easily be like a 9+ for me, right? So I'm gonna go 8+ with this one. 8+ for Hunter x Hunter. There you go, my Hunter x Hunter review. It was longer than the Naruto one. It didn't feel like it. I hope you guys enjoy these reviews. Again, I know that people will complain about things that I say here. I probably got a lot of things wrong, but please remember, these are just my weird ramblings and thoughts. And I'm a staunch. I don't know what the word is. Stark. I champion the belief that nothing has objective value in terms of like media, right? Nothing is bad, nothing is good. Things are only good and bad because people agree that they are or not. And you can think Hunter x Hunter is a 2 out of 10, you can think it's a 10 out of 10, and if that's what you think it is, then nobody can tell you otherwise, because that's the point of media and art and stuff like that, is that it's all up to interpretation, how you like and what you think about it. And it's why people say, what's your most overrated X or Y? I say nothing's overrated, because a thing is popular because a lot of people like it. So that means it is rated exactly how it should be. What people mean by overrated is, what is something that a lot of people like that you don't like? But that's a different question, I think. So, yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I'm not going to be reviewing things like One Piece and My Hero Academia because they're not finished. I want things that, like, and I know Hunter x Hunter is still in the manga, but I'm talking about the anime is finished. I'm talking about the anime in general. I want things to be finished before I want to finish them before I review them, because I feel like that's a bit unfair on some things to give them a review when they're not finished. And again, that sounds hypocritical because I just did Hunter x Hunter, but the anime is a complete product in itself. So, and I know a lot of people who don't even know that the manga exists. So yeah, there you go. There's my review. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Do all the good stuff. Thank you so much for watching.